The rain poured steadily that evening, the streets glistening under the soft glow of streetlights. Outside the towering walls of an opulent five-star hotel in New York City, a man in a tattered jacket stood, clutching a small bag that held all his possessions. His name was Elon Musk, but no one in the world knew it yet. His face was gaunt, his eyes tired, yet filled with a flicker of determination. He was homeless, penniless, and worn down by life's relentless blows, but something in him refused to give up. Elon stepped into the lavish hotel lobby, the warmth and brightness a stark contrast to the cold, wet streets outside. He shivered slightly as he approached the front desk, trying to shake off the rain. The staff cast him wary glances, their eyes lingering on his worn-out shoes and the patches on his jacket. "Excuse me," Elon said politely, his voice steady despite his appearance. "I was hoping I could stay here for the night. I don't have money right now, but I'm willing to work in exchange for a place to sleep." The receptionist hesitated, unsure of how to respond, but before she could say anything, a tall, sharply dressed man emerged from behind her. It was Mr. Graham, the hotel manager, known for his ruthless attitude toward anyone he deemed unworthy of their establishment. Mr. Graham's eyes narrowed as he looked Elon up and down, his expression turning cold. "This isn't a shelter," he said bluntly. "We don't do charity here." Elon took a breath, trying to remain calm. "I'm not asking for charity. I can work, clean rooms, help in the kitchen, anything. I just need a place for the night." Mr. Graham scoffed, his tone dripping with disdain. "And why would we let someone like you stay here? You don't belong in a place like this. Take your sob story somewhere else." Elon's hands tightened around the strap of his bag, but he didn't argue. He knew the man's type, someone who judged people by their appearances, someone who had no interest in the potential behind the surface. "Understood," Elon said quietly, his voice carrying no bitterness. He turned and walked back toward the entrance, his shoulders hunched against the world's weight. The automatic doors opened, letting in a gust of cold wind as he stepped out into the rain once more. But as the doors slid closed, another figure stepped into the lobby. Warren Buffett, dressed in a simple gray suit and carrying his old leather briefcase, paused just inside. He had caught the end of the exchange, his sharp eyes taking in the scene with quiet interest. Unlike Mr. Graham, Buffett didn't judge people by their appearance. He saw something in Elon, the way he carried himself despite his circumstances, the determination in his eyes, even as he walked away. Buffett approached the front desk, his presence commanding, yet unassuming. "Who was that man?" he asked the receptionist, his voice calm but firm. Mr. Graham stepped forward, brushing off the question with a dismissive wave. "Just some homeless guy looking for a handout. I sent him on his way." Buffett's gaze turned to Mr. Graham, his expression hardening slightly. "Is that how you treat everyone who walks through those doors?" he asked, his tone sharp enough to make the manager flinch. Mr. Graham frowned, his confidence faltering under Buffett's piercing stare. "With all due respect, Mr. Buffett, we have standards to maintain. Letting someone like him stay here would tarnish the reputation of the hotel." Buffett's jaw tightened, his calm demeanor now edged with steel. "You're mistaken," he said. "Your reputation isn't defined by who you keep out. It's defined by how you treat those who need help the most." Without waiting for a response, Buffett turned and walked out into the rain. He spotted Elon a few steps away, huddled under an awning for shelter. The billionaire approached him, his shoes splashing lightly in the puddles. "Excuse me," Buffett said gently, causing Elon to look up. "May I have a word?" Elon hesitated, unsure of who this man was or why he was speaking to him, but he nodded. Sure. Buffett smiled faintly, gesturing toward a nearby bench. Let's talk, he said simply. Elon followed him, his curiosity piqued. Little did he know, this meeting would change the course of his life forever. Elon sat on the cold bench, the rain still drizzling lightly around them. He clutched his bag close, glancing at the older man beside him. Warren Buffett, with his neatly combed white hair, thick glasses, and simple gray suit, didn't look particularly remarkable, at least not to someone who didn't recognize him. But there was something about the way he carried himself that demanded respect. So, Buffett began, his voice steady but warm. What's your story? Elon hesitated, unsure of how much to share. I don't know if it's much of a story, he said softly. I grew up in South Africa, moved to the US with big dreams, but things didn't exactly go as planned. Buffett leaned forward slightly, his expression one of genuine interest. Big dreams, you say? What kind of dreams? Elon's eyes lit up briefly, the fire in his spirit rekindled for a moment. I've always been fascinated by technology, by the idea of solving big problems. Space, energy, transportation. I wanted to create things that could change the world. But I ran out of money before I could even get started. Now I'm just trying to survive. Buffett nodded, his sharp mind processing every word. And yet, you're still here, he said thoughtfully. Still carrying those dreams, even with everything stacked against you. Elon shrugged, his voice tinged with a mix of hope and defeat. What else can I do? Giving up isn't an option. Buffett smiled faintly, recognizing the spark of determination in the younger man. That's the kind of spirit I admire, he said. Tell me, Elon, if you had the resources, what would you do first? Elon blinked, surprised by the question. He paused, collecting his thoughts, before speaking with quiet conviction. I'd start with renewable energy. The world can't keep relying on fossil fuels forever. I'd create something revolutionary. Affordable electric cars, solar solutions that anyone can use. Then I'd focus on space. Humanity needs to think bigger, to look beyond Earth. I know it sounds crazy, but I believe it's possible. Buffett leaned back, a glint of admiration in his eyes. It doesn't sound crazy, he said. It sounds like you've thought about this a lot. Elon nodded. I have. It's all I think about. But ideas don't mean much without resources. And right now, I don't even have a place to sleep. Buffett's smile grew, but there was a hint of something deeper behind it, an idea forming in his mind. You know, he said slowly, when I was starting out, I didn't have much either. Just a few dollars and a belief that investing wisely could change my life. Elon tilted his head, curious now. And did it? Buffett chuckled softly. You could say that. He reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a business card, handing it to Elon. Come see me tomorrow morning. I think we might be able to help each other. Elon stared at the card, disbelief flashing across his face. Are you serious? He asked. Buffett stood, his expression calm, but resolute. I don't waste time on things I'm not serious about, and I don't believe in coincidences. You have ideas that could change the world, Elon. All you need is someone to believe in you. For a moment, Elon couldn't speak. The rain continued to fall, the world around them seeming to fade away. Finally, he managed, Thank you. I don't even know your name. Buffett chuckled again, adjusting his glasses. Warren. Warren Buffett. Elon's eyes widened as recognition hit him. He opened his mouth to speak, but Buffett raised a hand. No need to say anything. Just show up tomorrow. We'll talk more then. With that, Buffett turned and walked back toward the hotel, his figure disappearing into the rainy night. Elon sat frozen on the bench, clutching the card like it was a lifeline. For the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of hope, not just for survival, but for something far greater. And as he rose from the bench, his mind began to race with possibilities. Tomorrow would be the beginning of something new, something extraordinary. The next morning, Elon stood nervously outside the address printed on the business card. It wasn't just an office. It was a towering skyscraper in the heart of Manhattan, its sleek design reflecting the sunlight like a beacon of wealth and power. He clutched his bag tightly, his tattered jacket feeling wildly out of place among the stream of sharply dressed professionals entering the building. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The marble floors gleamed underfoot, and the reception area buzzed with quiet efficiency. A woman behind the desk glanced up, her practiced smile faltering slightly as she took in Elon's appearance. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked, her tone polite but cautious. "I'm here to see Warren Buffett," Elon said, holding up the business card. Her expression changed immediately, shifting from skepticism to surprise. "One moment, please," she said, picking up the phone. After a brief conversation, she looked back at him with a hint of awe. "Mr. Buffett is expecting you. Please take the elevator to the top floor." Elon nodded, murmuring a quiet, "Thank you," before stepping into the elevator. As it ascended, his nerves tightened. The reality of who Warren Buffett was, one of the richest and most influential men in the world, hit him with full force. He had no idea why Buffett had taken an interest in him or what this meeting would bring, but he knew one thing: he couldn't afford to waste this opportunity. When the elevator doors slid open, Elon stepped into a spacious, elegantly understated office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, and the furniture was simple but refined. At the far end of the room, Buffett sat at a large wooden desk, his glasses perched on his nose as he reviewed a stack of papers. "Good morning," Buffett said, looking up with a warm smile. "Come in, Elon." Elon hesitated for only a moment before walking toward the desk. He set his bag down and sat in the chair Buffett gestured to. "Thank you for inviting me here," Elon said, his voice steady despite his nerves. Buffett nodded, leaning back in his chair. "You left quite an impression last night," he said. "Not many people can speak so passionately about their dreams while standing out in the rain." Elon managed a small smile. "I guess I didn't have much to lose." "That's where you're wrong," Buffett replied, his tone serious now. "You have something most people would give anything for: vision. The ability to see what others can't. And that's worth more than all the money in the world." Elon blinked, caught off guard by the compliment. "I've always believed in my ideas," he said quietly. "But belief doesn't pay for prototypes or research. I've tried to get investors before, but no one wants to take a chance on someone with nothing." Buffett smiled knowingly. "That's because they don't see what I see. They look at you and see a man without money. I look at you and see a man who could change the world." He opened a folder on his desk and slid it toward Elon. Inside were several documents, each one bearing the logo of Buffett's investment company. "This," Buffett said, tapping the folder, "is a starting point. I'm prepared to invest in your ideas, not as a handout, but as a partnership. I want to help you turn your vision into reality." Elon stared at the documents, his hands trembling slightly. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why would you do this for me?" Buffett's gaze softened. "Because I've been where you are, starting from nothing, trying to convince the world I had something to offer. Someone believed in me when I needed it most, and now it's my turn to do the same for you." Elon felt his throat tighten, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. "I don't know what to say," he admitted. Say you'll make the most of it, Buffett said simply. That's all I ask. Elon nodded, his determination solidifying. I will. I promise. Buffett extended his hand, and Elon shook it firmly, a spark of hope igniting between them. This wasn't just the start of a business deal. It was the beginning of a transformation, one that would take Elon from the brink of despair to the heights of unimaginable success. As Elon left the office that day, his mind buzzed with ideas and possibilities. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man struggling to survive. He felt like a man on the verge of something extraordinary. And Warren Buffett, with his quiet wisdom and unshakable belief in the power of vision, had set it all in motion. Weeks turned into months, and Elon Musk's life transformed in ways he never imagined. With Warren Buffett's backing, Elon threw himself into his ideas with relentless energy. The first step was Tesla, a company that had been nothing more than a concept on paper, but was now coming to life in a small, bustling workshop. Engineers and designers worked tirelessly under Elon's direction, crafting prototypes of sleek, futuristic electric cars that promised to revolutionize the industry. Buffett visited the workshop one afternoon, his calm demeanor contrasting with the buzz of activity around him. He watched as Elon explained the mechanics of the latest prototype, his hands gesturing animatedly, his passion undeniable. "This isn't just a car," Elon said, his voice charged with excitement. "It's proof that sustainable energy can work. If we can make this affordable and reliable, we'll change the world." Buffett smiled, his faith in Elon unwavering. "You've come a long way from that bench in the rain," he remarked. "But this is just the beginning." Elon nodded, his determination burning brighter than ever. "I know, and I won't stop until it's a reality." Buffett placed a hand on Elon's shoulder, his tone serious but encouraging. "Just remember, success isn't measured by how much money you make. It's about the impact you leave behind. Stay true to that, and you'll be unstoppable." As Tesla began gaining traction, Elon's vision expanded further. He pitched the idea of SpaceX to Buffett, laying out his dream of making humanity a multi-planetary species. Most investors would have laughed at the sheer audacity of the concept, but Buffett listened carefully, his sharp mind analyzing every word. "Space exploration isn't just a luxury," Elon said, his voice steady, despite the enormity of what he was proposing. "It's a necessity. Earth won't last forever, and we need to prepare for the future. SpaceX can make it possible, and affordable." Buffett tapped his fingers on the desk, deep in thought. Finally, he nodded. "It's bold," he said, "but bold ideas are the ones that change the world. Let's do it." With Buffett's support, SpaceX was born. The company faced countless setbacks, failed launches, financial struggles, and skepticism from nearly every corner of the industry. But Elon refused to give up, his resilience inspiring everyone around him. Buffett, ever the steady hand, remained by his side, offering advice and encouragement when things seemed impossible. One evening, after yet another failed rocket launch, Elon sat slumped in a chair, exhaustion etched into his face. Buffett joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Rough day?" he asked, handing one to Elon. Elon nodded, taking a sip. "It feels like every time we take a step forward, we get knocked back twice as hard." Buffett smiled faintly. "That's how progress works. It's messy, frustrating, and sometimes it feels impossible. But every failure is a lesson, and every lesson gets you closer to success." Elon looked at him, his exhaustion giving way to a spark of hope. "You really believe we'll make this work?" "I don't believe it," Buffett said firmly. "I know it. Because I've seen what you're capable of, Elon, and the world has no idea what's coming. That spark of hope reignited Elon's drive, and he threw himself back into his work with even greater determination. The next launch succeeded, marking a turning point for SpaceX and solidifying Elon's reputation as a visionary. Meanwhile, Tesla began rolling out its first line of electric cars, earning praise from critics and consumers alike. The world started paying attention, and Elon Musk's name began to appear in headlines, not as a homeless man looking for a place to sleep, but as a pioneer shaping the future. Through it all, Buffett remained in the background, quietly guiding and supporting Elon as his empire grew. He watched with pride as the man he had taken a chance on became a force of nature, reshaping industries and inspiring millions. But for Buffett, the true success wasn't in the profits or the fame. It was in knowing that he had helped someone realize their potential, creating a ripple effect that would change the world in ways no one could have imagined. Years passed, and the transformation was nothing short of extraordinary. Elon Musk had gone from being a homeless man on the streets to one of the most influential and recognizable figures on the planet. Tesla had become a household name, revolutionizing the automotive industry and leading the world toward sustainable energy. SpaceX, against all odds, had successfully launched missions to the International Space Station and even begun preparations for humanity's first steps on Mars. Elon stood in the heart of a sprawling Tesla factory one afternoon, watching as hundreds of workers assembled the latest generation of electric cars. The factory hummed with the sound of machinery and focused determination. But as successful as he had become, Elon's eyes still carried traces of the struggle that had defined his early days. He never forgot where he had come from, or the man who had seen his potential when no one else did. Later that day, Elon sat in his private office, the room adorned with awards, blueprints, and models of rockets and cars. A knock on the door brought him out of his thoughts. One of his assistants stepped in. "Mr. Buffett is here to see you," she said. Elon smiled, standing immediately. "Send him in." Warren Buffett entered the room, still as unassuming as ever in his gray suit and tie. His white hair had thinned slightly with age, but his sharp eyes and calm demeanor remained unchanged. The two men shook hands warmly. "It's good to see you, Warren," Elon said. "It's been too long." Buffett nodded, taking a seat across from him. "I've been keeping an eye on you, Elon. You've done remarkable things." Elon smiled, a hint of humility in his expression. "I couldn't have done any of it without you. You gave me a chance when I had nothing." Buffett chuckled softly. "You had more than you realized. Vision, determination, and the willingness to work harder than anyone else. All I did was light the match. You built the fire." The two men sat in comfortable silence for a moment, reflecting on how far Elon had come. Finally, Buffett leaned forward slightly, his tone turning serious. "Tell me, Elon, what's next?" Elon's eyes lit up with the same passion Buffett had seen on that rainy night years ago. "Mars," he said simply. "Not just a visit, but a colony, a second home for humanity. I want to make sure the human race has a future, no matter what happens to Earth." Buffett smiled, shaking his head in admiration. "You've always thought bigger than anyone else. I can't wait to see you pull it off." As they talked, the conversation drifted toward their shared philosophy of leadership and success. Buffett's calm wisdom balanced Elon's relentless drive, the two men inspiring each other in ways neither could have anticipated. Later, as Buffett prepared to leave, Elon walked him to the door. "Warren," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "you didn't just give me a chance. You changed my life. I hope I can do the same for others." Buffett smiled, his expression warm and proud. "You already are, Elon, and that's the greatest legacy anyone can leave." As Buffett left the building, he turned back briefly, watching as Elon returned to the factory floor, speaking with workers and overseeing the production lines. For Buffett, it was a full-circle moment. He had taken a chance on a man in the rain who had nothing but a dream, and now that man was shaping the future of humanity. Buffett walked away, knowing that the world was in good hands. Elon Musk wasn't just the richest man on the planet. He was proof of what could happen when vision met opportunity, and when one act of belief could change everything. As Warren Buffett stepped out into the crisp evening air, the sight of Tesla's sprawling factory behind him filled him with a quiet sense of fulfillment. The journey of Elon Musk was unlike anything he had witnessed in his lifetime. A man who had gone from the depths of poverty to becoming a beacon of innovation and ambition. For Buffett, it wasn't just about the success Elon had achieved, but the ripple effects of that success on the world. Meanwhile, inside the factory, Elon walked through the bustling assembly lines, speaking with workers, answering questions, and offering encouragement. For him, every car that rolled off the line wasn't just a product. It was a step toward his vision of a sustainable future. As he moved through the factory, he paused by a young engineer working on a battery prototype. "Looking good," Elon said, his voice carrying the same energy and excitement he had felt in his early days. "How close are we to hitting the efficiency mark?" The engineer looked up, his face lighting up at Elon's presence. "We're close. A few more tweaks, and we'll get there." Elon smiled. "Keep pushing. Every breakthrough here brings us closer to where we need to be." For the workers and engineers who surrounded him, Elon Musk wasn't just their CEO. He was a leader who believed in the impossible, someone who had walked the hardest roads and still come out stronger. His humility and drive inspired everyone to reach higher, think bigger, and never give up. Later that night, Elon sat alone in his office, staring at the city lights through the massive glass windows. His mind drifted back to the rainy night years ago when he had been turned away from a hotel, drenched and hungry, with nothing but his dreams to keep him going. He thought of Warren Buffett, how one man's belief in him had changed everything. Elon reached for his phone and composed an email. Subject: "Thank you, Warren. I just wanted to say thank you. Not for the investment or for the opportunities you gave me, but for seeing something in me when no one else did. That moment changed my life, and I've never forgotten it. Everything I've built, everything I've achieved, started with your belief in me. I hope I can pass that belief on to others. Best, Elon." He hit send and leaned back in his chair, a quiet smile on his face. He knew Warren didn't need the thanks. Buffett's humility and wisdom were far beyond that. But Elon wanted him to know how deeply he valued their connection. Miles away, Warren Buffett received the email in his modest study. He read it slowly, a warm smile spreading across his face. For a man who had built an empire on investments, this moment felt like the greatest return he could ever receive. It wasn't about money or power. It was about the lives he had touched and the legacy he had built through others. The next morning, headlines across the world celebrated Elon Musk's latest achievement, the final preparations for the first manned mission to Mars. Journalists marveled at the ambition and scope of the project, but Elon's focus remained on the work ahead. He addressed a crowd of reporters and employees, his voice steady and filled with purpose. "This isn't just about Mars," Elon said. "It's about proving that humanity can achieve anything we set our minds to. It's about building a future that's bigger, brighter, and better for everyone. As the crowd erupted into applause, Warren Buffett watched the broadcast from his home. He felt no need for recognition, no desire for credit. He simply watched with pride, knowing that he had played a part in helping one man realize his full potential. Elon Musk had become the richest man on the planet, but his wealth wasn't measured in dollars. It was in the hope, innovation, and progress he had inspired. And for Warren Buffett, that was the greatest investment of all. In the end, it wasn't just Elon's story. It was a testament to the power of belief, the impact of kindness, and the extraordinary things that could happen when one person dared to take a chance on another. The Mars launch day finally arrived. Elon Musk stood on the platform, surrounded by engineers, astronauts, and dignitaries from around the world. The massive rocket, gleaming under the sunlight, was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when fueled by vision and perseverance. The crowd buzzed with excitement, cameras flashing, and voices blending into a hum of anticipation. Before the countdown began, Elon took the microphone, addressing the crowd and billions watching around the globe. His voice, steady and heartfelt, carried the weight of his journey. When I started this journey, I had nothing. No money, no home, just an idea and a dream that seemed impossible. There were days when I thought it would never happen. But one person changed that for me. One person believed in me when no one else did, and that belief made all the difference. He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd, knowing Warren Buffett was somewhere among them, quietly watching. This isn't just a rocket, Elon continued, his voice stronger now. It's a symbol of what humanity can achieve when we lift each other up, when we invest in ideas instead of appearances, and when we believe in the impossible. The crowd erupted in applause, but Elon's eyes lingered on Buffett, who gave him a small, proud nod. No words were exchanged, but the understanding between them was clear. As the countdown began and the rocket ignited, its roar shaking the ground, Elon stepped back, letting the moment take over. The rocket soared into the sky, its trail of fire and smoke a beacon of hope, ambition, and the extraordinary power of belief. Warren Buffett stood among the crowd, watching as the rocket disappeared into the heavens. For him, this was more than just a successful launch. It was the culmination of a journey that had started on a rainy night with a simple conversation on a bench. He had seen potential in Elon Musk, and now that potential was lighting up the sky. For Elon, the journey wasn't just about Mars or Tesla, or even his own success. It was about the idea that no matter how far you've fallen, no matter how impossible things may seem, one moment of belief can change everything. And for the world, it was a reminder that greatness isn't born from wealth or privilege. It's born from resilience, vision, and the courage to keep going. As the rocket disappeared into the vastness of space, both men knew that this was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Elon Musk was no longer the homeless man in the rain. He was the richest man on the planet, not just in wealth, but in the legacy he was creating. And Warren Buffett, as he turned to leave the platform, carried the quiet satisfaction of a man who had changed the world simply by believing in someone else. The story didn't end with the rocket. It ended with a ripple of inspiration that would carry forward, touching countless lives and proving that even the smallest act of belief could launch something extraordinary. And that, as Buffett had always known, was the greatest return on investment anyone could ever hope for.